Hello and welcome to episode 3 of this Inspire 2020 Visionary Chat Series. I'm delighted to be joined today by none other than Mayne. Brian, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Nice to be with you.
And it's great to have you here. And just to introduce to the viewers and the listeners, so Brian is best-selling author and presenter of Goal Mapping, the Goal Mapping Practitioner program, which I've done, which I can vouch for. But you've also written life mapping, action mapping, self-mapping. You're a global speaker on personal development, a seminar leader, author of 4 books, and you also live on the beautiful Isle of Wight, where I used to go on holiday as a kid about many blah years ago. So welcome, Brian. It's great to have you here. And really, maybe just to start off, just give the viewers and the listeners a bit of background as to you. And how you came to find this whole area of goal mapping. I know your story, but it might be great if you could share a little bit of that for the audience.
Yeah, okay. I grew up in a traveling family. My parents operated funfair equipment, and on both sides of my family I'm related to circus people. And so I had a very nomadic childhood. And we would spend part of the year traveling with the fun fairs. We would also come here where I am today on the Isle of Wight, because my father would open his amusements for the tourist season. We had a winter base outside of London by Heathrow. And so each year I had different homes, different schools, and no school where we traveled with the fun fairs. And like most traveling communities, I left school early. I left at 13, without qualifications, obviously at that age, and unable to read and write. And I worked for the family business. I had some success. But then in the late 1980s, although my father had built a big business, it came very difficult times because of affordable airfare. The tourist industry changed, and the travelling funfair industry also changed.
Yeah.
A lot of people started taking their holidays abroad, not here on the Isle of Wight, and so tourism went down.
Yeah.
The family business ended. And I found myself at age 29 in a lot of debt. I'd been quite wealthy, but I was in a lot of debt.
Yeah.
And my life was pretty broken, homeless, unemployed, and my marriage had broken down. I had no qualifications. I couldn't read still at age 29. And there seemed few opportunities open to me, and life was looking pretty dark.
Yep.
I took a job in direct sales on commission only. And I wasn't very good at it at first. I didn't sell much, but it introduced me to the simple science of positive thinking. The sales organization I joined put on some personal development, goal setting workshops. And for the first time, it was explained to me how our thoughts influence our feelings, influence our outlook on life, and of course, influence our behavior. And that there are techniques we can learn and use that very much help us to be at our best, to think our best thoughts and work with our best attitudes. And I use those techniques to start to turn things around. The main thing that I focused on in the very early days was overcoming my learning challenges and learning to read, which I achieved within 1 year. So I learned to read well about age 30.
Wow.
I made the decision only to read personal development books.
Yeah.
All the techniques and good things I learned, I sort of put into my life, and life took off. And then it's been an ongoing journey since that time.
Wow.
Around about 27 years now as a speaker. And for the last 25 years, becoming more and more known for my goal mapping system, which has now reached about 5 million people.
Wow. So amazing journey. And so do you think that without having reached, it's probably a trite question, but without having reached that kind of rock bottom that you reached around the age of 29, do you think without that you would have, maybe the inspiration that's come since might not have been as strong? Do you think there's something in that?
For sure. Yeah. I think I would have carried on doing what I was doing, helping run the family business. And there would have been some good things about that.
Yeah.
But if I compare it to what I've achieved in the last 25 years, no, I don't think it would have stacked up. I don't think it would have stacked up monetarily. but that isn't my main measurement.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have stacked up in terms of how much I've been able to influence other people's lives in a positive way,
Yeah.
and help people achieve their goals. And it's that sense of purpose
Yeah.
that has spurred me on. And without question, there are things that I've done and ways that I've grown in the last 25 years that if I hadn't have had the experience of the family business ending and being in £1 million debt in 1993,
Wow.
with no qualifications, can't read and write, etc. I mean, life was looking really hard.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have made, I don't think, some of the changes
Yeah.
that I've made and learned some of the things I've learned. That's not to say that the people have to go through that extreme down to come back up.
I agree.
But what I learned has been invaluable, and many of the lessons I'm able to pass on to people now, that they don't need to go through that same painful experience I went through to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more directly available to them.
Yeah. And I knew most of this about you through a good friend of mine here, Edmund Carroll. And that really is what connected me to you to do this, because, you know, it's not public knowledge, although it's starting to come out this year, but I've been through my own rock bottoms in life, you know, serious issues in the family. And I reached a horrendous rock bottom 11 years ago and gave up drink, you know, and the clarity of thinking and the things that have opened up and the people I've connected with over the last 5 years in particular, people like yourself, you know, and Marshall Goldsmith, the world's #1 leadership thinker, and I'm interviewing John Mattone, the #1 executive coach, and Eduardo Briceño, co-founder of Growth Mindset. I would not be talking to these people, and I'm convinced of this, Brian, and I see you smiling and nodding. I wouldn't be talking to people like you if I hadn't gone through that horrendous period and sort of climbed up a second kind of peak and found a new level of awareness. And that's, for me, that word awareness. And you can't, you know, I've thought about this. Can you teach school kids this stuff? You can't persuade them. But I think the work that you do and my work to a much less extent, you can provide indicators. And I think that's coming onto your goal mapping program. And I just jotted down, because I've done it. And there's seven steps, if I remember rightly. And the first one is about raising awareness, which is what I've just talked about. So tell us all a little bit about why that's the first bit and why that's relevant to people who do goal mapping, the raising awareness.
Raising awareness is really the first step in any form of conscious achievement.
Yeah.
We need to be aware of what it is that we desire, what we want our life to look like. We need to have a dream about our life. And we also need to be aware of where we are, our starting place right now.
Yeah.
So that we're able to start to identify the journey we need to take, some of the things we need to do. The goal mapping came to me in a flash of insight in around about 1990, it would have been 1994.
Yeah.
And I started teaching it in 1995. And it's a very simple system, 7 steps, as you said, where you set your goals in words and pictures, and you outline not just what your goals are, but why you want them, when, how you're going to do it, who's going to be involved. And as you map it out, it helps you to become clear in your conscious mind about what's most important.
Yeah.
That's all to do with raising awareness. And of course, it also sends, in creating your map, a goal command to your subconscious, which works like your autopilot and moves you towards the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those people, I mean, I was always I have to say, I was skeptical of doing things like this. I really was skeptical. And I thought, how can a program that's been developed by somebody else, albeit that's highly successful globally, how can that really get into my psyche and really change my direction? But as I said, I did it, right? And I've achieved, I'm probably 2/3 up the ladder since September last year. So either there's some magic or the second thing, I guess, is that maybe I'm a bit more open-minded than I thought I was. and maybe the third thing is that none of us are really special. That this applies to all of us if we are self-aware and open-minded enough to accept it. Is there something in that we just need to be? There are some people who just blocked and they can't be open-minded. So you need to be open-minded and willing to do something like this.
The thing that makes the technique work is working it.
Yeah.
And the first step of that is create your map.
Yeah.
It's in creating the map in words and pictures, and you can do it online or on paper.
Yeah.
That it helps to engage your whole brain, giving you conscious clarity about what's important, as well as the subconscious command. Now, some people do it grudgingly. I've worked with a lot of big corporates, Microsoft, Siemens, Disney, Coca-Cola, John Lewis. There's a long, long list of corporate clients, businesses large and small, not just big business or small family businesses use the system. And when you're presenting in the workplace to employees, quite often they've had some personal development. Perhaps they haven't enjoyed it. It's a bit cheesy or something. They can sometimes have a bit of a closed attitude. And they do their map almost grudgingly. And I've got a huge file of letters and messages from people saying, "Oh my God, I did your map thing. Wasn't sure about it at the time, but I've just looked back and I've achieved all my goals." When a person is open and enthusiastic, the system simply works faster. But even if the person's a bit closed and they do their map, it seems to have a very beneficial effect on them. And the same is true with children. We have a children's version, more than 1 million children from primary school, secondary school, university, creating goal maps to aim for a brighter future, increase their grades, pursue the career of their dreams, and a large number of them report back just how much it's helped them. Sports people, health, well-being, fitness, dietitians, anywhere where someone needs to set a goal, the system has proven itself over 25 years. It's just a very effective, simple enough a child can do it, and yet it's powerful enough that world-leading organizations like Microsoft have adopted it. So it's quite unique in that way, in its breadth of how it's able to help a lot of different types of people. And of course, a lot of people teaching it these days. Like you've mentioned Edmund, who's one of my fantastic trainers that's certified to teach the system. And there are also a lot of other trainers teaching the system. So 1,400 around the world now.
I was privileged enough to be at one of Edmund's sessions. He did a session with the Junior Chamber of Commerce here in Dublin on a Saturday, and so I came along. I just helped him because he's a friend. He's turned into a friend, a lovely guy, and I kind of witnessed what you said. So I was privileged. I was watching him, but watching the audience. There must have been about 25. They're all much younger than me in their 20s, and I'd say 80% of them were completely fixated and enthralled and completely bought in, right? And then there was probably about 5, and nearly all of those were guys, right? And they were initially sitting there like this, huffing and puffing. Oh my God, it's Saturday morning. What's this hocus pocus kind of thing? I could see that in their face. But by the end of the morning session, it was a half a day, everybody you could see was bought in. Everybody. Right? And that was partly because of the strength of the program. Because I think when people see the power of bringing the left and the right side of the brain together, and the written and the visual, you can't really argue against that. I mean, because I'm reading lots of books around mindfulness and Buddha's brain and all these kind of things, and it all comes down. And I think what it is, Brian, is that, and you mentioned it about corporates, human beings tend to overcomplicate things, right? But at the end of the day, this is, as you said, it can be a simple guidance tool, right? And by breaking it down into these 7 steps, you're creating a nice, simple, linear methodology for people to follow, and don't worry about all the other noise. And I think that's a sign of real intelligence, by the way, when you take a concept and you make it seems simple, as you have in the 7 steps. That's a mark of genius, So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't sit down and create it. It came as a flash of insight. I needed to reverse engineer what I'd seen.
Yeah.
I understood almost instantly that what I had seen was a phenomenal way of setting goals, because I'd been asking the question for many months intensely, what's the best way of setting goals?
Yeah.
When I learned about conscious goal setting, I didn't have goal mapping. I just learned, write the goals down, write them down many times, read them every day, get it into your consciousness.
Yeah.
And it helped me to achieve some amazing things. I paid back my debt, I transformed my life, I transformed myself, etc.
Yeah.
And it led me to the question, what's the very best way of setting goals? Because there seems to be different ways, and some ways work for some people, and other ways don't. So, what's the fundamental stuff that needs to be known here? And after asking that question many months, and by that time I'd changed career and was working as a trainer rather than a salesperson, I saw this picture of goal mapping, and it took me a little while to understand what I'd seen. I started teaching it in 1995, and really it's been an amazing journey since then, leading to books in many languages, many people teaching it, many clients, educational establishments adopting it. It's very simple, but it works very well. And if someone wants to do the training program behind it, there's a lot of science and a lot of depth. But in terms of just applying the technique, it really doesn't take a great deal of time or a tremendous amount of understanding. And we make the core material is freely available to people.
And so these other programs, life mapping, action mapping, self mapping, how do they differ? What's the big difference? Is there a big difference between them?
They all have the same fundamental principle of using words and pictures to activate both sides of the brain. They all have the same fundamental principle of conscious clarity, conscious mind clarity, and subconscious command. But the maps are focused on different aspects of success. So a goal map is really focused on the physical things you'd like to achieve, the priority, why you want them, when, how you would do it, little action plan, who's going to help. And all of that together forms a map. It looks a bit like a tree structure.
That's right.
Goals at the top, and then actions, and a trunk, which is the timeline. A life map is in a circle. It's a mandala. It's words and pictures, and it's about creating a goal command. But this time the goal command is, who do you choose to be as a person? So what does it look like when you're being your best? What does it look like mentally, emotionally, physically, materially, socially, spiritually? And some of my corporate clients use this, and they focus it onto their management or sales team. What does it look like when we're being our best manager? What does it look like when we're being our best salesperson? What are the qualities? So mentally, maybe I'm inspired, or I'm patient. And then you write it as a goal command, an affirmation. I am patient. Maybe on the emotional, it's being passionate or motivated. And on the physical, it's being energetic or vibrant. And on the material, perhaps it's about being balanced. And so you map out what's the picture of me being my best, or me being my best manager, or me being my best father, mother, brother, sister. You can apply it in life generally or specifically. Words and pictures. And by doing the map and looking at it once a day, and I have mine here, for instance, just so people have a visual. So this one drawn on paper. And then a goal map has this tree structure, and this one's created using the online system. And I have a lot of different goal maps, because I have a goal map for business, and a goal map for health, and a goal map. And so action map is another system again, and that's focused on changing habit patterns. So if you think about it, what makes life work well? Well, you know where you want to go and what's important to you. You're choosing who you're going to be as you make the journey. And there will be habits that you've picked up over the years, maybe some you've had since a child, that you want to change so that you are being the person that makes that journey. And then the deepest level of my work is self-mapping. which is about taking off any ego masks that may be on and just being natural, being your true, authentic self,
Yeah.
being okay with yourself.
Yeah.
And again, we have a system, words and pictures,
Wow.
that helps you bring your spiritual self and your ego self together to form your true self.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of the self-mapping. That sounds very interesting because I've been on a journey of discovery. I'm in a spiritual program. I don't mind saying it. I have been for 14 years. And you're right. I've noticed that by doing my best to keep my ego at bay, right? And there's always going to be ego because I'm a human being, but by trying to keep it at bay on a daily basis and trying just to be willing, honest, open-minded, authentic, even though the coward, the ego, which is the coward, says that's not good enough. And if you don't put on this brave face, you're not going to get what you want. I'm noticing against my ego judgment that things are happening, things that beyond my wildest dreams, so it's almost counterintuitive, but it kind of brings us back to childhood. So you talk about the goal mapping thing. I've done a bit of work. I do a bit of training, tutoring. I do many things, but I train, at colleges with students. And I've just been blown away by, we talk about the younger generations as being the snowflake generation, but they've just got so much drive and intelligence and willingness in a different way. We're all different. But I would imagine goal mapping, nobody taught me about resilience at school. I didn't even know about the word. Nobody taught me about awareness or self-awareness or situational awareness or purpose or balance. And I just think, I did RE, a religious education at school. I think for me, a life skills or a goal mapping type program would have been probably a lot more useful. And is that your purpose with the children's programs?
Yeah, for sure. The question I started asking myself about what's the best way to set goals, that question was born out of my own realization that if somebody had helped me to understand the simple science of positive thinking, and how setting a goal joins the brain cells, sends a command to the subconscious, etc. I would have done it years ago. My life would have been so much better for it. And I lost count of how many people in workshops and presentations said the same to me. And so it led me on to the question, why are we not teaching simple goal setting in our schools to our children as standard? Because in many ways, I think it is maybe the greatest of all skills to learn. It's the one skill that if we master it, it helps us to gain other skills, other knowledge, other abilities.
Absolutely.
We can set a goal for anything we want to achieve, and it's lifelong. We can use it for as long as we live, and it's life-wide. We can focus it in lots of areas. Why are we not teaching it as a subject? There are a lot of good teachers, well-meaning teachers, that will say, set a goal, go for it. And being told to do that is not the same as having a class and understanding the science of how you do it. And it is a science.
It is.
And some people don't know how to set goals in a correct way. And that means they really reduce their chances of achieving them. Because simply the goal doesn't register in their subconscious. They don't change their habits, their behaviors, their feelings. They don't stay connected to the goal. They fall off track. They let go of it through self-doubt or whatever other psychological or environmental reasons. And if they had known how to set the goal in a powerful way, their chances of achievement would have been so more greatly enhanced. They would have been so more likely to have achieved that goal. And it was asking those questions that led me to the insight to become goal mapping, with the most fundamental aspect being that very unique, balanced combination of words and pictures. And the way the 7 steps come together.
So in taking this journey, how deeply have you got into reading about neuroscience and psychology and Buddhism and meditation and mindfulness? Because I know a bit about all of those, right? And through my own life progress, I'm, you know, continue reading about this stuff, and I'm in a program, but going through your program, there is no way that you haven't looked at this stuff, because it is almost like, there's almost a spiritual undertone, right?
Oh, there is a spiritual undertone.
Yeah, there is. And so maybe tell us a little bit more about how
I had a very
collected all the
profound
impetus.
spiritual experience about 1 year after I learned to read.
Okay.
When I learned to read, for me, learning to read at age 30 was like a magical key. It set me free.
Yeah.
And at first, the books I read were really basic personal development books. And what stood out to me very quickly was, it's not knowing personal development that makes it work, it's working it.
Yeah.
It's applying it. A lot of people know personal development, they do nothing with it, it
Yep.
makes no difference to their life.
Yep.
If you apply it, it can work wonders. And so I become very interested in techniques, and my reading deepened. I wanted to read about Buddha, or I wanted to read about some of the ancient philosophy, and I started to see so many connections between the ancient philosophy and what Buddha was saying,
Yeah.
and modern scientific understanding and motivational psychology,
Yeah.
and what it was showing. And actually, there's a direct connection between the two. They're all saying the same thing, just in slightly different words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned to speed read, and I read hundreds and hundreds of books, both on modern personal development, NLP, accelerated learning, and ancient wisdom. And then I pulled back from it all. Around about 15 years ago,
Yeah.
as I started to write my own books, my sense, my intuition was that I needed to be as simple as possible, and to get away from a lot of terms, a lot of labels, a lot of references,
Yeah.
and just to explain in the simplest way I could how your thought influences your reality. And Buddha said it 300 years before Christ, that all that we are starts with our mind, with our thoughts we make and shape our world.
Yeah.
And actually, he said it quite simple, but I don't know that so many people realize there is a whole science that backs up what he is saying. And actually, I've learned to teach that science in a very simple way, simple enough that children can understand it. And of course, now there's a huge movement in the schools towards growth mindset.
Yeah.
Goal mapping is a growth mindset program, and it's not a new program that's come in the last couple of years. Growth mindset's a comparatively new term.
It is.
Goal mapping's been running for 25 years, and the children's program's been running for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you can go back several thousand years and you will still see growth mindset.
Yeah.
They just had different words to explain it, of course.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, most of the spiritual teachers were communicating these things across the cultures in very ancient times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the words are slightly different. I think in this modern age, the simpler we can make it, the more accessible we can make it, the more it's serving people, because people are overwhelmed with information. They don't always have a lot of study or focus time.
Yeah.
If you can say it simply and you can back up what you're saying with some life observation,
Yeah.
or simple science to demonstrate proof,
Yeah.
then I think more and more people are becoming open and prepared to try new things, take on a new thought or belief for a while,
I agree.
and see if it's making a difference to their life.
Yeah.
And so within goal mapping, there is some philosophy, there is some psychology, and of course there's a bit of technology. There's a how-to, and you need all three.
Yeah.
You need to understand a little about how your thoughts create your reality, why that's important to you, and then a system that helps you put it into a map so that you influence your subconscious in a powerful way. And again, this is something that's happened throughout the ages. This is why people have had rituals and chanting and visualization, sand drawings and mantras and mandalas. And so it's always been there.
Yeah.
But I think there's been a renaissance in recent years,
yeah,
where there's a growing realization of how important it is. And thankfully, I'm seeing schools and businesses open up to create a little bit more balance between the technical, the knowledge, the academic, and the life skill, because we need it all. It's not that we only need one. You can have a lot of life skills, but that may not necessarily land you the employment you would love. Without certain qualifications and knowledge base. But if you've only got the qualifications and the knowledge base, you'll find more and more organizations these days are recruiting people based on mindset and attitude. We need the full package.
Absolutely. And just as we draw to a close in a couple of minutes, just bring us to what the current circumstances around the world. And I said in the last the chat I had with Ted Rubin that this is probably the first time in history that all 7 billion people on this planet will never forget this period, right? I mean, this is kind of a circuit breaker kind of period for all of humankind. And it's, you know, we're in it right now, but there will be a future. And so in terms of goal mapping, how do you see that serving or being even more embedded in the psyche of organizations and maybe education as we go forward, given that I think we are going to have to be a bit more balanced and a bit more authentic and a bit nicer, right? Going forward. So I think this plays right into goal mapping. But how do you see the two knitting together?
I think being balanced, being authentic, all of those things are a goal. They're an intention. And use one of the maps, a goal map or a life map, to hold on to those intentions. I'm doing a lot of contribution work at the moment. My corporate work and my certification work is ongoing. The contribution work I'm doing has really been at sort of two ends of the spectrum. So I've been working both with older people, some of them in their 80s, helping them to set goals, create a goal map for the new habit patterns that they need in order to thrive during this period. Have social changes of habits, not touching their face, gloves when they go out, maybe staying in under lockdown. All of those things are new habits. And so a goal map is great for getting new habits. The other end of the spectrum is that I'm getting people to do long-term goal maps. When I say long-term, more than a year, on the future they desire and that picture of hope that they need to hold on to in order to keep moving forward. So you want a short-term goal map that's going to help you through the current period. You want a longer-term goal map that's going to help you hold that picture of hope. With business people at the moment, I've just been contacted by a sales organization in Denmark. They want me to do a webinar because they think this is the point now, and Denmark's gradually releasing their lockdown at the moment. They believe this is the point where everybody needs to reassess their goals.
That's what I think. That's what I think.
All right. Let's look again at those goals we set back in January. And maybe they're still relevant. And maybe they need to be amended up or down. Mine have actually gone up. Because I started working with my online program 3-4 years ago. So I was sort of well prepared for this period in many ways, although it's meant a lot of change. But certainly the path to those goals will be different. So even if your targets for end of year are not changing, your route to those targets will most definitely be
change.
And it's time to reassess all of that and to look at what are the activities, what are the actions, what are the targets I need to aim for to move me along a path between now and my end of year goals, whether that's end of financial year or calendar year.
Wow. So just in wrapping up, what's you're obviously really busy doing lots of things, and you've written books and courses and the programs, and you're in demand. What's next for you, Brian, in your life? I mean, there's still decades left in your life, hopefully. Where do you see yourself in, say, 10 years' time?
Well, I hope by then, obviously, the world condition has moved to a place where it allows people to travel when important. And the reason I'm saying when important is because I think many things will never go back to the way they were.
I agree.
my main business for many years has been as a conference speaker. Sometimes I'm speaking to thousands of people on stage at a big conference somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that world's ever going to go back in the same way.
Yeah.
For environmental reasons, with travel and cost, and people will realize that actually they can work through Zoom, be
Yeah.
part of a virtual conference. There'll be a lot of good reasons to do it that way.
Yeah.
Economic reasons, environmental reasons. So I'm not sure that that world's ever going to come completely back, but I'd like to be doing some of that. I've spoken in more than 30 countries. I love to travel. But I think the main thing for me going forward will be the development to higher levels of my online offering.
Yeah.
Already I have thousands and thousands of people that use my online goal mapping software.
Yeah.
I've loaded all of the family material there now so that schools can access it, families can access it. We have hundreds of coaches using the platform to coach their clients.
Yeah.
And that's the aspect I will work on more for a lot of different reasons,
Yeah.
and not least environmental reasons with the planet.
Yeah.
But I think this period of lockdown will have taught a lot of people that they can work from home,
Yeah.
that they can learn online,
Yeah.
that they can have an effective meeting without getting in their car driving 4 hours.
Exactly.
So even when the virus may have moved on, I think a lot of the new habits that people are developing now and investments they're making in using online,
Yeah.
those things are going to continue.
I agree. I just wrote an article for Irish Tech News last week about now really, World War II and the space race were great periods for innovation coming out of them. And I think this period is too soon yet, but I think this period will see an acceleration of certain innovations. And I think the online world, delivery, biotechnology, nanotechnology, online communication is really, really going to ramp up. And so I think we are going to have to adjust our mindsets to a different world, So anyway, Brian, it's been wonderful talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. In terms of people looking at you, your website, what details would you like to give in terms of your contact details, websites? And
yeah, www.goalmapping.com. That's my main website. I have more than one, but that's my main website. That's where the free online software is.
Yeah.
That's where the free paper printable templates are. My contact details are all there.
Yeah.
And I don't send out a lot of marketing material or anything like that. People can sign up very safely without fear they're going to be bombarded with marketing material or anything.
Yeah.
The free software and the paper templates are there as a contribution.
Yeah.
As part of my sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And so if people like it, there's a lot more they can have.
Yeah.
But they can go check it out. And the important thing is creating the map. It's that works the magic.
Absolutely. And I'm testament to that. So thanks very much, Brian. It was great chatting with you.
Pleasure.
And I wish you all the best. And I hope I can get to the Isle of Wight again sometime soon.
Well, it'll be lovely to welcome you here, Simon.
I'd love to.
And when maybe share your own goal map with some of your own people.
I plan on doing that. Anyway, thanks very much, Brian. Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.